Good morning, Flow Racing. This is Courtney Enders on Right Off Track, your only drag racing podcast to the Flowverse. And we are here to talk to one of my favorite people on the planet of Earth, but we are not going to get into that yet. One of my goals when I started this podcast was to not only bring you educational things about drag racing so that you yourself can become a drag racing fan, but I want you to meet the people that make it great. And today, that's why this episode is so special, because he is one of the most amazing people on the planet of Earth. I've said it a million times, coolest guy in drag racing. We're going to get to Antron Brown here in just a second. But before we do, as always, we got to pay some bills. And as always, this episode and every episode of Right Off Track is brought to you by Castrol Edge. It's 3 times stronger against viscosity breakdown than the leading full synthetic and gives your engine 10 times better high temperature performance than the industry standard when you need it most. Castrol Edge, better oil for maximum performance. So I waste no time on this show. We don't dilly-dally. I'm bringing him on. Antron Brown, welcome to Flow Racing's Right Off Track. Thank you so much for making time for us today.
Oh, anytime, Court. It's always good to be on, and I watch the shows all the time, and I'm just happy to be on for the first time.
Listen, I'm going to let people in on something. Usually this airs on Friday. We do it on Friday. We do it live. We're doing something special this week. We're doing a pre-record because, my man, you are not going to get away with not being on my show this week. And I'm not a morning person. And we woke up early for Antron Brown. So the best part of waking up is Antron Brown this morning.
That's right. Little brown sugar goes a long way in that coffee.
You already know I got that in there. Don't even play with me, boy. So we're going to treat this. I know in our world, that face is unrecognizable. Everybody knows who you are. There is no question. You're always smiling. You're great with the fans. But I like to treat this as if somebody's watching this for the first time, they stumble upon this on FloRacing.com when they're looking for Kyle Larson stuff. And they think, who is this guy? Why is he important? So I want to give a little kind of broad intro of what you do in the drag racing community. And I'll Cliff's note it for it. One of the most diverse drivers in this entire industry, I think. You will step into anything. You'll stand in the grandstands and wave at me like a crazy person until I come flag you down. But your start was in pro stock motorcycle, and we don't have to spend too much time on this, but just give a little bit of insight of how this fire got ignited in your soul and why you went on 2 wheels.
Well, to be honest with you, I grew up riding motorcycles. A lot of people know that I raced motocross since I was about 6 years old and got really serious in it when I was 12 and raced up and down on that amateur circuit, in the tri-state area of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York. So I'm a Jersey kid. And then we used to go up and down the East Coast racing other races down in Virginia, Maryland, and stuff like that. And I had a blast growing up, and they didn't have junior dragsters when I was a kid. That was when I got like 17, 18 years old, they came out at Englishtown right when I was graduating high school, like the first junior dragsters for the NAP kids. Like half-scale dragsters, Randy. It wasn't even called half scale then. He had his own, big race car business, like Drag Specialties or something like that, making rather big dragsters. And I never forget that my dad and uncle, they were sportsman racers before I was born. Like, I'm going way back. A lot of people don't realize that I remember Super Comp when it was like stretched out roadsters. It wasn't even a dragster in the class. There was no even, like dragsters were alcohol dragsters. They didn't race in bracket racing at all, period. It was door cars, and if you wanted a consistent race car, you got a roadster, a stretched out Brogy-built roadster from California. And I grew up around that, but I couldn't afford to drag race a car. I didn't have the money, so I started out with a street bike, and I'll never forget to this day, it was an old GSR 1100, like a 90, and we rebuilt it. Bob Carpenter, who was a pro stock bike racer at the time, did the engines for Troy, and I rode the bike, and we used to call her Storm. She was polished up, white and blue with the GXR, like red emblems on it, and we used to call her Storm, and we used to go out there and create some havoc and some thunderstorms on some people out there on the racetrack.
I love it. And you obviously were a natural on 2 wheels and took that so far. I think it's incredible. You've had collectively 71 wins 3 world championships. But as I was writing this down for this podcast this morning, as somebody who's been in this and been fighting my whole life to make this my life and my job outside of the seat, 71 wins. Would that guy riding Storm think like, yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to be approaching 100 wins here in the NHRA?
No, I never even fathomed that we can actually do that. Like, let alone, like, what you don't realize is that I was that kid standing outside the room at all the races. And, like, you know how it was. You did the same thing, and you're just like, man, if I could just, like, get a shot, get to try. Like, what people don't realize, when you eat it, sleep it, you dream it, you actually become it, even though you're not there yet. And that's what I did. I mean, I never forget the big porter trees came out, the real big ones with the incandescent, but like the halogen bulbs in it. Like
they were hot.
Yes, you go practice on a tree. That tree came on all the time. You get the tan. Like, you know what I mean? So, and I never forget that my dad and uncle used to have all their friends over, and they did the bench racing. Man, you wait till I bring my car out this next weekend. And half of them never even brought the car out. The car stayed on a jack stand all the time. You know what I mean? And they used to come over, and we used to bet $1. And we used to make the brackets. You had to qualify. If it was 16 or 8 people there, you qualify on the bracket by your reaction time. And then you go down, and whoever wins the pot. And I was a young kid, and I used to take pride in taking all their money, so I could have that extra lunch money for school. Because Brother Man was going to get that ice cream.
Listen, we'll talk about this later too, but you better get that ice cream this weekend in Norwalk. We'll hit on that here in a minute. So we're going to fast forward a little. You get into Pro Stock Motorcycle, have huge success there. If you flow racing people want to touch on that, we could do an entire show on your career on 2 wheels, but we're going to kind of fast forward to today and your transition into Top Fuel. Was that ever even on your radar as you were flying around on 2 wheels on that Army bike, or is this something that kind of just naturally happened?
Well, the way it happened, a lot of people don't know this story, but for the last 7 years, I raced bikes for 10 years, and I've always watched every class. Like, people don't realize, I love drag race. I will drag race anything. I grew up, Pro Stock car was our family favorite growing up. We watched all the old school deals. My dad, we had a little small build, Grumpy Jenkins small block in our Chevy Vega. So there was a miniature Pro Stock car back in the mid-70s. That thing went 980s back in the late 70s at 140 miles an hour. That was fast. No nitrous, no nothing, just straight motor. And then, then fast forward where we're at now is that you're talking about Top Fuel. I was trying, looking at it, and I was like, you know what? Man, why? I'm happy where I'm at Pro Stock bike. But I always said, why can't I race a fuel car? Why can't I race a fuel car? Why can't I do these different things? Why can't I do that? So what I ended up doing was start putting my name out there and going, I would like to drive a fuel car. I would love to try it if I can't do it. So I used to talk to people, work with them, and then they say, oh, we'll let you drive. Never happened. You know what I mean? Talk to this one. Oh, never happened. Funniest story, I talked to Don Schumacher about it. And I never forget, Don looked at me and goes, Antron, I got people that will give me money to get in the car. What are you going to bring to the table? You have a sponsor. I'm just going to put you in the car. I said, Don, I could do the work. I could sell it. I could talk. I could help promote whatever company comes to the table and be a great spokesperson. He looked at me, and then I never forget, Lee Beer was at Don Schumacher Racing. He used to watch me come in way before all the Top Fuel guys were there and funny car guys were there. And I was there with my crew chief at the time, Mark Pizer, and Steve Stagula, and we were in there building race bikes, dynoing engines, putting them together, tearing them apart, washing them, doing all this stuff, and wiring stuff. And he goes, you know how to do all that? I go, yeah, this is what I do. And he goes, you'll be great. He goes, you need to drive a Top Fuel car. So Lee kind of politicked for me, and never happened at Schumacher. And then he went to David Powers. And then he called me one day and goes, hey, you want to try to drive a top fuel car? And that was like 5 years later. And I was like, I'm in.
That's freaking awesome. But that just goes to show you, I mean, you put in the work, you put it into existence. And my story was a little bit similar. I was obsessed with Pro Stock Motorcycle when I was a kid. As you know, I got your autograph 1,000 times. Angel was my just jam. Never been on two wheels in my life, been a dragster and a door car girl my whole life. And people kept knocking on my door like, what if you just kind of tried and came and ran this bike? And I'm like, I have no business doing that. Long story short, did a couple of sessions with Jerry Savoy, did some burnouts, did a couple of launches. Let me tell you, ain't for me. Ain't for me. You guys are crazy. One of the only things I've never completed in my life was that. But I have just the honest gut of, if you weren't born and comfortable on those two wheels, there's a mad respect for them where you got to do it. But same thing goes for the top fuel car. And I think it's incredible because we find where we are in this sport because of opportunities like that. And the same thing goes for what you're doing now. You're racing for these teams, as Ron Capps called it the other day on this podcast, is bring my helmet and race, show up and race. But you're doing something completely different now. And I have the same question for you. Was this always on your radar of owning your own team and making your own program and being the guy in charge? Or did this happen authentically as well?
This is one of those deals where, in life, I'm always pushing myself to do better, to be better. And it was just one of those deals that just evolved to where it's at today, where I go, all right, well, you always think about where you want to be and you have these dreams. Like, you get to one dream and you're like, I made it happen. Like, I'm an NHRA, I'm a professional pro stock motorcycle rider. Why stop there? What's next? Top fuel, funny car, that'll be huge, that'll be big. But then I go, can I do it? And then I got in it. I said, yeah, I could do it. It's just time. Just like, I'm sure if you just gave it more time, you'll be able to make the bikes happen. And then once I evolved and I got past there, I go, what's next? I go, well, I want to control my own destiny. I've been on numerous different race teams. And for me, I got shuffled around 4 times. Like, I raced for David Powers. Sold the team at the end of that year because the market went down, the homie market, and he couldn't afford to help do it and keep going. Then I raced for Mike Ashley. Then he sold the team. No, David Powers sold the team to Tim Buckley. Tim Buckley had a team for like 3 months. Sold to Mike Ashley. Mike Ashley had a team for 1 year and one of the best people I ever raced for, like the most positive, motivation guy I ever been around in my entire life. Like, he wills things into existence. Then, after that, I was with Don Schumacher. And I was with Don Schumacher for a good tenure of my whole top fuel career. Pretty much, I would say probably like, literally with Don for like 10 years. And won 3 championships, did a lot of great things. We elevated. And I was like, you know what, though? It's time for me to navigate on my own and build a legacy for my family. And that my kids want to race. And I'm like, all right, well, it's time to do something different. I've done this. And the coolest part is, if I mess up, it's great because the buck stops here. Shame on me. And I can build and create a team that I can make these people be the best versions of themselves and be with them every day, and also open up opportunities and doors for other people coming from the grassroots. Like, I'm bringing interns that work on my team. I am trying to cultivate grassroots racing, like on the bracket racing side, to the A-Fuel, to the A-Fuel funny car side, and pro mod side. I'm trying to create that so that I can take those talented drivers from there and then shuffle them into the fuel ranks, but cultivate them, like help them grow, understand how to work as good off track as they do on track. And that's where my heart's at right now, is to build this sport and bring forth the new future stars.
It's so clear in it when people watch you, just not even in the car, but outside the car, and how you interact with these people. But now that you've gotten to where you're at, you are a driver, but at the end of the day, the buck does stop there and it is your team. How's your Sunday mindset? Are you, Antron, the driver? Are you battling that fact of you've got a million things running around in your head and this is your circus with your monkeys? Or are you kind of able to compartmentalize it? What's Antron Sunday like?
Well, Sunday, last year I was a disaster. I was a mess. I didn't get the hang of it until halfway through the season, and I was still doing good, but I wasn't AB of old where I come in sharp and polished on race day. And it took a little bit of getting used to, I would call it getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And what it was just like getting my mindset where I got in the car and I had to turn the ownership side off and turn the driver mode on, the race mode on. And what I've learned to do is I come in on Thursday, ownership's turned off. I'm driver. Like Ryan Karate runs the show with Mark and Brad, and I listen to what they tell me, and I'm turned that off. Like they control everything during the race weekend, and I'm just focused on driving the car. And Ted Yerzik, my guy, my sponsor relations guy, he's pointing the direction I got to go. Maybe go here, go there, go there. I'm like, and when I get in the car, I'm flicking the glider switch on, click. When my mind goes blank, and I'm racing. And it took me a while. It took me a long time to shut that business mode off because your mind's always thinking about, I got to do this, got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. We need to have this happening. Man, look at this guy. He's not doing it right. He needs to do it like this. I got to go, all right, shut down, jot it down, and we'll address it when we get back to the shop after the race weekend's over.
I think people don't realize how mental, and I mean this in a positive way, not a crazy way, how mental drag racing is. And, there's this stigma of athletes in the world and, our race car drivers, athletes, and we're nominated for ESPYs. Congrats to Brittany for that. I saw that last night, which is cool. But there's this almost stigma to where I think we're the only ones that really realize the mental and physical athletes that drag racers are. No matter what car you're racing, there is a connect or a disconnect with your brain and your body of what you've got to do to be physically and mentally able to do this. And you're one of the ones that I think has their head wrapped around this through the years. I follow you on social media and you work with trainers in Brownsburg and do reaction time type things, but give us a little insight to what goes on to building the champion, if you will, if I'm going to be cheesy here and say that, but the mental side and the physical side of being that athlete that you've got to be able to turn on and off that switch and be physically bodied able to do what you do.
Well, the one thing is that to be mentally strong, you have to be physically strong and fit. Okay, you have to have confidence. Right?
Amen.
It's like anything. It's just like we all grew up and went to school. We all know when you don't study for a test, you go in there, you're shaking and you're nervous because you're hoping that you just pass the darn thing because you're not prepared for it, right? Well, that's the way racing is. Any sport is that you got to prepare to be successful. And for me, I know I was an athlete since I was a kid, all through high school and all through college, and I know what it's like to train. And when you train and you put the work in, you start getting like not this swagger or cockiness, but you just get this inner confidence where you're just at ease because you're ready for battle. You're ready to grind. You're ready to go through the grunt. If the trenches get deep, you keep shoveling, locking out, shoveling in. I got you. You know what I mean? And when you have that, you go into that mindset because you got to remember drag racing is like chess. You got to know your opponent, know how to race them, know what to do. But it's not the racing that takes all the juice out of you. What people don't realize about drag racing, we entertain and interact with all of our partners. Like this week, I've been here in Ohio. I got in Monday night and I've been doing sponsor activations. 2 of them on Tuesday, 2 of them on Wednesday, not getting done until 9 o'clock at night on both nights. Now I'm at the track doing more sponsor obligations, helping get set up. And then tonight I got another deal, but then I got to come back on Friday But pro board meetings, sponsor interaction at the track with hospitality, and then we got to go qualify at nighttime. So I'm going to be at the track tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'm not going to leave here till 11 p.m. tomorrow. So when you look at all that, when you get in a car, if you're not physically fit, you're going to get in a car and your mood set's going to be like, oh, I'm burnt down.
Yeah.
So I'm not like, oh, I'm up. I'm this way. I'm that way. Well, now I'm physically fit. When I get in that car, I'm just like this. I'm still strong. I'm still ready. And I can still be in attack mode. Because the stuff I did hasn't worn me down. Because I know what it's like to be broke down when you're up there doing all that. You're doing all that, like, that interval, that high intensity training. Get your heart rate up, get it down, count down, get back up, get down. And I go in, I'm like, this ain't nothing to where I train. I'm ready. And that's the whole concept, is being ready.
That is incredible. I cannot wait to clip that and make it its own clip here on FloRacing. But I think that a lot of people could really take use from that, because I've worked with a ton of different drivers in a ton of different areas. I've been there, Ted Yerzik, if you will. And I think that I've seen a lot of people bog down, and there is something to be said for you're stretched really thin. And here you are doing Right Off Track with us in the morning before you go do more sponsor stuff, because you love the community, but you get stretched thin in a sense of where you kind of lose sight of which part of this is important. And I've seen some drivers that I work with that turn down some sponsor stuff because they don't have that mental bandwidth or that mental capacity to go be able to do that and then perform. But I think you're professing the school on how to do it all, because I don't think I've ever seen you with a frown on your face. I don't think I've ever seen you turn somebody down at your ropes. You've never not just lit up the room. And that's why I wanted to ask you that question, because it's tough. I've seen these. I've lived it. I'm not even in the seat, and I've been burnt out, bogged down. I'm about to go on my 8th weekend in a row, and let me tell you, I'm tired. I'm very tired. This shit is hard. This shit is really hard, but that's incredible. And I think that people in all brands of sports can learn from that. And I think that's why you're able to do what you do. And I'm going to transition this, because I'm getting better at transitions here, into what you do for the RVW world. And there's extra, because the NHRA schedule is grueling. What you do is absolutely grueling. There's no other word for it. It's rewarding, but it's grueling. But somehow you make time to go play in Fred and do things that are in other brands of motorsports because you enjoy it and because you do. And so I want to get into that with Manny. We'll just quickly touch on how that came about. I was talking to somebody in the industry who used to be in drag racing last night, and he said, how the heck did Antron get hooked up with Manny Bajinga?
Hey, well, the funniest part is one of my really close, dearest friends, Carlo Calanata, who used to race at NMCA back in the day, and he still races now. He races like the grudge races and different stuff like that. Him and Manny are really, really good friends. And Carlo and Manny talk all the time, and then Carlo used to talk to me about Manny, and then Carlo used to talk to Manny about me, because me and Manny got the same mindset, kind of temperament, like Manny's all in, right? So it was funny. He's always trying to grow the sports that he's in, like the radial world and also the pro mod world he's getting into. And he goes, Carlo, it'll be cool. You think Antron would ever want to come out and drive one of my cars when we go up there? And Carlo goes, heck yeah, he would. Manny goes, you think he could do it? And Carlo goes, Manny, AB races anything. He could drive anything. He goes, that Joker can race whatever you put him into. He can race a dump truck. He can drive a semi truck, skid steer, track. It don't make a difference. What you want him to do, he could do it. And it was so funny. So I got to meet Manny at the PRI show. Really, really good dude. Like a few years back, and it's just a good guy. And I checked his car out, and that's when he first, like, Fred was coming in. That's after he already had Ted, and then he started with Fred. And I'm like, man, I said, this car is unbelievable. I said, you running like a pro mod style engine on the little tires? Like, you out your mind. You out your mind. And then, lo and behold, this is the funniest story, Courtney, that people don't know.
I love it. This is why I love this show.
My wife is terrified of pro mod cars because she sees them on their lid. So here I go down to Florida. And I'm like, Billy, it's okay. I'm going to drive a Pro 275 car. Their radials, they're not as bad as a Pro Mod car or nothing like that. And I know I'm trying to smooth this over so I can go.
Lies.
Right. Well, they run the same engines or bigger engines with more power with smaller tires, right? So this is the funny part. I get down there. My wife is watching FloRacing TV. She's watching Flo, the live show. And the announcer goes, these cars are insane. They are Pro Mod on steroids with small tires. These drivers are completely nuts. You know what I got? Ding, 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 ding. Hey, what's up, Billy? What's up, baby? She goes, I thought you weren't driving a Pro Mod car. You driving something even more stupid. What you doing?
Look at you sleeping on the couch. Jeez, OP.
Oh yeah.
It is. You and I talked after you made that run when we were in Bradenton, and I just genuinely asked you, like, how did it feel? Because you are one of the few people that has such a large spectrum of how these different cars, bikes, Top Fuel, everything. And you looked at me with them big eyes and you said, sister, that is crazy. I was here. I was doing this. And you said, it may not be 330 miles an hour, but that joker was crazy. And it was so cool to just watch you absorb it and fall in love with that side of the drag racing world, because my interactions with Flo has kind of caused me to do the same thing. We have tunnel vision sometimes, and I've been Erica's career and the Jegs thing, and I've just been on the trajectory that I've been on, and getting into this Flo deal has opened my eyes to it, and I freaking fell in love with it. I fell in love with the fans, the racers, the cars. It's insane.
It's just another avenue. When you go there, you see the love that's in that sport. It's like it's reminding me when I was a kid and I used to go to the races with my dad. You got the people that have the pure joy of drag racing, and not taking nothing away from our NHRA pro side, but I'm just talking about these, like all these people, they're not fans. Every single one of them has race cars.
Yep.
And they got a love, and they'll spend their last dollar. They'll be on their car working, busting their knuckles, doing everything to the nitty gritty to make it happen, to race that whole weekend. And you have that mutual respect. You get what I mean? These are like the iron people, like the triathlons of drag racing.
I agreed, man. Those races are long. Let me tell you, they are. It is a triathlon. It is crazy. 17 hours of pure racing, and they could go all night long. They don't care.
They don't care, and they're there for the love. And the coolest part is that it was cool for me because people always think, "Oh, you're a Top Fuel racer. You ain't got time to do this. You ain't got time." You're not. Like, those people are not real. But we are real. We love racing. And I love every aspect of racing. And for me, it was really cool when people walked up and goes, man, you just a chill guy. You just like one of us. I said, I am, brother. I am. I do this. I just do different things on different stages. I'll be at all the stages if I can split myself into 4 different people. Trust me.
Amen. And it is cool because you were just watching in the grandstands. I was getting B-roll. I love this story. I tell people this all the time. I was getting B-roll up in the stands, and I see some crazy person waving at me, and I'm like, gosh, this guy, who is he? Zoom in. It's Antron Brown sitting in the grandstands watching. I'm like, this guy's crazy.
Courtney goes, who's this nut? What's he
I'm like, don't give me, I ain't got time for this shit today. But on the family aspect of this is, I have a short list of people that I've wanted on this show, and I kind of wait until newsworthy race wins, things of that sort, so that we can keep up with what's going on in the racing community with the personalities. And when I saw Anson win the other night, I said, Antron, top of the list, here we go. And I'm so thankful that you got me on here. But your family, you talked about Billy texting you, calling you a crazy person, all this. They have supported you through this through and through. They have felt your passion come through. And I think that we're starting to see that now with your kids. But before we get into Anson's wins, I want to talk about, you've got 3 kids. Do all 3 of them have the bug for this, or is this just an Anson thing?
No, we got all 3 of them raced growing up. And Adler's still racing junior drag, she's my youngest. But Ariana even though her first love was dance, she loves to drag race. People don't realize it. And when she got in, she was a monster. And she never won a race, but she's been in these big junior races where she made it to the final and went 8 rounds and lost in the final. And she's been to races where she made it to the finals numerous times, and she wanted to win so bad, she red lighted by 001, 002. And I'm like, baby, just do your thing. And Anson, he's the one that started to love out. He's the most passionate. This is all that boy eats, sleeps, and dreams about. And I never knew, like, the things he could do. You get what I mean? Like
yep.
You take it for granted. Like, how good can somebody be or whatever it is? And you never know that the boy is always watched and learning, not from me. He sees what I do. And he challenged me on a reaction time team all the time. And he's getting really good. He's getting, like, he's almost beat me. I ain't letting him beat me yet. And he just does so much other stuff, watching like all the other races, like your Luke Bogacki, your Peter Biondo, your Justin Lambs, your Richard, your Richardson brothers, all of them, man. I mean, Langdon, like he watched, like his biggest deal. He goes, "Hey, Dad, I gotta race Conley. Like Jags, Jags' wife Samantha killing it. He grew up with McKenna Brown. McKenna Brown's older than Anson, but they all raced together growing up. And it's just so crazy to see how he learned so much. And he never thought foot brake at a junior dragster, and you get into a big car with a trans brake button, where he took to it like a duck to water.
And that's just, it's in the blood. Like drag racing, I've said this almost on every one of these shows because I think people outside of it don't get it, but there's something crazy about us. It's in the blood. I've tried to shake it. I tried to have a normal life. You just can't. When it's in your blood, it's in your blood. But take us back to last weekend at the TB race. He's got, I mean, you obviously believe in your kid. That picture of you jumping on the starting line. I'm the starting line jumper. You put me to shame, damn it. You jumped higher than me. I got tagged in that so many times. Like, you're no longer the jumping queen. Antron got you covered. So you took my role. I got to do it when Erica wins this weekend. But that was so cool to watch your pride just beam from you. But the coolest part to me is second generational stuff. Like, we've heard drag racing is dying. We got to get more young kids, yada, yada, yada. I don't buy it. It is alive and well. You got Autumn Height. You got McKenna Brown, like you said, Jeggy's wife, his daughter coming in hot. Conley, he's got kids now. You know they're going to be in dragsters before they can walk. Your boy took out one of the baddest bracket racers on the planet in the final round, underneath the lights, for the whole world to see. And I know that Sean has helped you guys. I know you and Sean are very, very good friends. And so there was probably a little bit more emotion in this, but just give us a little insight of that final round and what you guys were thinking, what Anson was saying before he was going up, and then the celebration of being the champ.
Yeah, I tell you what, when we got there, a lot of people didn't realize was that on Friday, we had a crap day. Okay, like Anson and Sean had a crap day. Like Sean had problems with his tires not hooking up and make some adjustments, put some different tires. And we had a problem that we didn't even know. His car was all over the place on reaction time because his trans brake solenoid started sticking. And we had to get a new trans brake. The housing came loose and it was acting all up, doing all kind of funky things. And we couldn't figure out until I looked at the computer. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is all jacked up. It ain't like he's letting go of the button and the car's not leaving. And you see this and you see that. And I'm like, all right, so we get that all fixed. And we went down to the Williams boys down there and they gave me a new FTI solenoid. He goes, you got that piece of junk? We got rid of them things a long time ago. Them things are like junk. We don't even use them no more. Fall apart. I said, well, brother, I got it last year, but we couldn't, like we didn't get out last year. We got out this year. So we got that all fixed on Saturday. Anson literally went 10 rounds, and every round it was a stiff competition. It was the best drag racers. Like even at a race against Will, who races for the Bear family. That guy's professional drag racing, insane, close drag race. McKenna Brown in the earlier rounds, and like all these people. And then you line up against Dave Conley in the door car, and it was a respect deal. I saw Dave. He actually ran his car dead on, honest. Because he was racing Anson. And when you see people do that, you're like, that's
something.
That's respect. Because Dave usually holds 6 or 7 or 8 hits the button, nitrous button, does all kind of things, and does the okie doke on people, man. I'm like, I never knew bracket racing has so many different games to it. And these guys and gals are like, it's unbelievable what they do. They're
animals.
They impressed the crap out of me. I was like, oh my God, look what they're doing. Ended up, it's just they tried and true. You hold a couple numbers here or there. Then we got down to the later rounds. Anson goes, Dad, we can't play no more, Dad. We got to dial this dead on and hope for the best. And that's what we did.
That's so crazy. And you're right. Again, with the Flow Racing community, the bracket racing, we are just getting into that. And I cannot wait to teach them about it. But it is the most complicated, difficult thing to do. You got to win 8, 10, 12, 15 rounds in a weekend to do anything. And that is it is so incredible. I'm so proud of you guys. And I think it's so cool when the second generation busts. I love Sean Langdon, but man, that was cool to see him bust him.
Oh man, it was incredible. And then Sean, he was 0-0 because him and Anson were going back and forth on the trees to do different things. And Sean was the round before him and Anson had the same exact light. Like Anson was 006, Sean was 006. We ran dead on. I forget what it was, like a 3 or a 4. And Sean ran dead on with a 5. So it was going to be the monster final round. And I'm like, Anson goes, Dad, what should we do? I said, son, just let it ride. Don't put no more in the box. Just leave it alone. I said, it's final round, just do what you do. And Anson was 004 and ran dead on with a 2 in the final. And that joker left skinny gap.
That is nasty.
Yeah, I looked at him, I go, boy, you wanted to win. And he did. And Sean for some reason was 020. And he goes, Dad, I just missed a tree. And I'm like, shoot, man. I go, like that's what Sean said. And I was jumping up and down, and we were talking before we left, and I was teasing him, and it was so funny. It was so funny. Sean came back and go, did I say that? I said, did we agree that we split? I forgot that conversation.
No, I think we did agree that we're splitting.
Sean goes, yes, we did. Yes, we did. I said, you sure? You sure? I said, I think I'm getting old, Sean. You know I'm almost 50 now. I can't hear good.
I love it. I think it's so poetic for the community, for your kid to be doing well in that. Last thing I want to touch on before we let you go here. What does the future look like for Anson or even any of your kids? I mean, now that you're a team owner, I don't want to speak out of line here, but like you said, you think it, you dream it, you build it. Is this something that you guys want to do together as a family? Does he want to take it to the levels? What are his thoughts?
Yeah, Anson's dream is I don't know, I'm a little scared to put my kids in a fuel car.
Duh.
Right? But the thing about it is, I know Anson's biggest dream one day is before I retire, he wants to race against me in the fuel car, which I still got plenty more years left, and that might happen. And I'm like, all right, son, but I said, first, you're going to school. I said, you keep on bracket racing. I said, because right now, you just want to race, and we got your college paid for.
No kidding. He could pay for his own way with bracket racing.
He did. He just did. We just paid for his first 2 years of college and his dorm rooms and everything. Like his rooms and everything. He was paying for us. I said, you got your own college scholarship. Now the trick is we got to go out racing some more and win some more money down the road in the next 2 years to pay for your last 2 years.
I love it. I love it. It's so incredible. And now we've got Norwalk this weekend. We'll just switch gears. You are going into race mode. It's this will be airing on Friday. So very shortly after this airs, we'll be able to see you blazing down the 1,000-foot at 330 some odd miles an hour. Norwalk, an incredible track. You've got the Summit sponsor. You just went and did all that today or yesterday. How are you feeling about this weekend? You feeling good? You want to get some ice cream?
Oh, I want to get some ice cream. I want to get that scooper. Scooper when you win. And we got one of those already. And
I heard they got a new one. Erica told me that there's some new design.
Oh, I got to check that out. Brother Man wants one. We're going to work hard to try to get it. But the thing about it is we came off a tough final round against Justin Ashley. We almost won Bristol. And that was painful because I think that's the only race on tour that I have not won at yet.
Really?
That's the only race.
And those will get you, those elusive ones. I think Erica's got 2. We've got Gainesville and one other, I can't remember. Oh, Denver. So we can do that. But those will get you, and those mean more than anything. And it was so cool because I say this all the time. I have the best view in the world. I have the best view in drag racing. I would rather my spot than in the car because the things I see and the interactions that I see, and up at the top end after the finals in Bristol last weekend, I'd die on this cliff. I don't know how you come out in a good mood. You had just lost that elusive racetrack. First thing you did, high-fiving your people and came over and congratulated my sister and gave her a big hug. Like, man, you are just a true gem in this sport. And it would just be so much more boring and less light without you. And I appreciate the friendship that you've given us and the support you've given my sister and doing this kind of stuff for little old me. And it's incredible. And I freaking love you.
Oh, I love you too. Your family. It's like, you ain't got to think that. Like, we grew up in this sport together. I remember when we first came into the sport. And look, you may enjoy jumping up behind your sister, but I am telling you, your day is coming. Listen, people. Listen, America. Okay, Courtney is not going to tell you this, but she is a beast too. If you ever saw her when she raced, her eyes, the eye of the tiger, I should say the eye of the tiger, the eye of the cat in that girl. She is no joke. And I want to see you in a race car. You need to go bracket racing. You need to go out there and start racing and doing what you do, because you are one of those stars right now that's in the shadow that needs to come to the light behind the gas pedal, the steering wheel, sister.
You can't make me blush before noon.
I know it. I know it. I see it every time. I'm like, man, if I have a car, put that girl right, put it right now.
That's what Bo Butner tells me all the time. He's like, get to Indy. Let me get you licensed. And I would, but I do have to say, I'm loving what I'm doing. And I've struggled to find my place in this sport. I knew I belonged in it, but didn't really know. And this stuff with Flo and the top end interviews and these podcasts, I'm absolutely loving it. And I think sky's the limit for it. But listen, if I can drive on the side, your girl will drive.
That's what I'm talking about. Bruno Massa can do it. Courtney Enders can do it.
I love you. That means more to me than you know, Antron. I appreciate those kind words. All right, well, go get him in Norwalk. Get your butt back to work. Go be team owner. Go be driver, Antron. Thank you so much for doing this, and thank you for supporting Flo Racing. I know you always do, and just keep kicking ass, man. We love you.
Anytime, sis. I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much. And you know what? This weekend, y'all better stay tuned, because I'm going to let the flow, baby.
We're signing out on that one. We'll see you soon. Thanks, AB.
Thank you.